Hello, crypto people. My name is Joey. I'm part of the Chart Guys team. Been a full-time trader and technical analyst for 7 years, coming up on 8 years. Here to talk some crypto. Wish I had something more to say, but not a lot's going on. We're just going sideways in most places in the crypto market. And personally, I'm getting put to sleep. So that tells me to be on the lookout for some volatility. We'll go through the charts, figure out what bulls need to do to prove anything, what bears need to do to continue their control of weekly consolidation that we're seeing across much of the space. And that is that. So let's go ahead here, get on into the chart. So we're looking at the Bitcoin weekly chart. We know we had our big bounce off of the beginning of August flush lows. We've got our weekly lower high set at 65K clean. And now we're looking for that weekly higher low compared to 49K. And as far as what price is doing, in the intermediate term, it's just sideways. It's just sideways here. So we're going to be watching our daily lower high resistances, and that will just be our clear guide along with the daily 12 EMA for what bears need to keep above their head to maintain control and what bulls want to get at their feet to try to shape up a weekly higher low. So our daily lower high isn't officially set here, but the new line in the sand for me for full-on bear control is going to be the high of today at 59.8K, right off of the daily 12 EMA. And probably the most notable thing about this sideways range that we're in right now, if we look into the 4-hour, is that these lower lows aren't really seeing much follow through. So we know that bears are not super strong here by any means. If they were, they'd be seeing follow through on lower lows, especially on a day where the broad market is down nearly 2 and 3% for ES and NQ respectively. So Bitcoin's holding on decent in those regards, but there's still just not a lot going on. So this brings up another point. We've had some folks in the room expressing difficulty trading in this environment, and we need to know what's the environment where we want to hit the gas, what's the environment where we want to hit the brakes. And it's pretty simply, if you're in a trending environment, that's when you hit the gas and take more trades, put more risk on, use more volume. When we're sideways, we need to respect that and lighten up the trading. You can certainly do the range-bound style trading where you're looking short off the highs and long off the lows and keep it nice and simple and loose with that. But there's multiple reasons for this approach in terms of hitting the brakes versus hitting the gas. Main reason for hitting the brakes is not only do you not have like a lot of opportunity in terms of price movement because you're range bound, but we know that when we're range bound, smaller time frame trends are going to be less reliable. It's how the game works. So got to make sure you're hitting the brakes when it's time to hit the brakes. And for me personally, that's one of these times. For Dan, that's the same. You know, it's been a long time since we've been in the crypto room slanging coins. We're in there every day doing analysis and whatnot. But when we've got the stock market, the commodities market, and the futures market that has clearer and more profitable opportunity, that's where we're hanging out right now. And that'll change, and we'll be back to trading a bunch of crypto as our primary instrument at some point, but that point is not right now. So just a little note there. Let's look into Bitcoin a bit more. So again, 59.8K going to be key resistance. We'll call anything below 59.35K a 4-hour lower high. Bulls got to get over 30-minute 12 EMA to try to shape up a 4-hour bounce in this context, and that is pretty much that. So if you are looking to try to position for a weekly higher low, then one thing you could be doing is looking for another bear break without follow through, just because we've seen so many. That's a pretty reliable indication at this point. It certainly doesn't mean that we can't get follow through at any point. And I'll bring up a good example of that here today on NQ. Let's see. Do I have it drawn on here still? Yeah. So we had a nice falling wedge on the 5-minute. Bear break's not getting follow through. Bear break's not getting follow through. It's nice, clean opportunity to try to position for a bull break here, but it doesn't mean that you can't just get follow through all of a sudden and break out of the low of that wedge. So that is something to be mindful of on Bitcoin. Since we don't have a ton else to talk about, we'll talk about some of these volume profile levels. I try to just keep it simple for the streams because most people don't really care about this stuff. But we are bottoming out. This is like a little hourly or 15-minute range back in here that has been pivotal along the way. And that's what bulls are trying to hold at this point. And this is the range from the end of 2021 that we've been talking about in the room for a good while now. And that is topping off this current daily bounce, or trying to at least. So kind of ping pong in this range. And if we break below 56.6K, we'll have price action level of, we'll just call it 56.1. And then after that, there is a lot of space before we have any real supports from price action or volume profile perspective. So that's what we're looking at on Bitcoin. Looking at ETH, so volatility anticipated on ETH. We just got a nice daily EQ. We'll take a step back though before we get into that. So weekly lower high set, 28.20. We're looking for a weekly higher low compared to 21.16. We know we don't have as much space as Bitcoin has for that weekly higher low, and we're kind of putting a little foot in the ground here where Bitcoin's getting these lower lows without follow through. ETH is maintaining an EQ, so just viewing this as high, low, lower high, higher low, and bear's trying to shape up a lower high here now at 56.64. Daily 12 EMA resistance similar to Bitcoin, and when this range breaks, it will tell us either A, we're getting a weekly higher low shaping up if it's a bull break, or B, we're looking down to weekly support if it is a bear break. So it's pretty much that simple. As we come down to support here, aggressive bulls looking for a weekly higher low are looking to play off of these lows with a little bit of wiggle room. It's pretty much right at 2400 psych. We got 2393 is our lowest level. So aggressive bulls playing off that, but again, got to respect the whole range bound thing, range bound nature of what we've got going on. But you can just view this as a little range and do that range bound approach where you're just, if you get down in these lows, you're looking long, putting some scales in. Let's, come on, draw for me. Maybe doing something like that. Just taking some scales in, stop below the low, hoping to get a bounce back up to the upper portion of the range. You got solid risk to reward. If we make it like 2/3 of the way back up the range, you got a 2.5 to 1 risk to reward on something like that. So if you're inclined to trade the crypto space right now, that is an opportunity that you can be going for. But what I will say is ETH bulls are not pleased with ETH BTC. So we'll go to the weekly here. Got a weekly stair step intact since June, and we popped it, but no follow through at this point. As bears continue to defend the daily 12 EMA we've been using as the guide for full on bear control on ETH BTC, got the pop above, but couldn't get the close above. So now we can say that if ETH bulls want to get some relative strength, they got to pop 43.40, and it is that simple. So let's look at LTC. LTC holding on better than most names in the market right now. If we look at the weekly, bulls very close to getting a weekly higher low set, healthy weekly consolidation. If bulls can get through 66.49, that is the weekly higher low being set. And if they can follow through and take out 68.16, that would be a monthly bounce trying to shape up, but they'd need to see more follow through because the high of last month is 71.42. That's ultimately what needs to get taken out to get a monthly bounce underway. And that, where is that level? It's in the middle of something here. Oh, it's just a random day within here, the first of the month. So 71.42. So it's actually only really a resistance on the monthly chart. It's not much of anything on the daily chart, but we got a daily higher low set here at 62.59. Bull's going to maintain control of this attempt at getting a weekly higher low set as long as that is support. But as always, got to check out our ratio chart. And we are back to testing the weekly 12 EMA, which has been the arch nemesis of LTC for ages at this point. And the question is, can bulls get up and over? Try to get a monthly bounce underway on LTC BTC. If that happens, LTC is going to be back on the map for the duration of the ratio monthly bounce. So, and to look at how this can play out, ZEC BTC was similarly getting smoked forever after this monthly EQ bear break. Crazy. But we got that monthly bounce underway, monthly stair step break, and we all know what ZEC did recently. It had quite the run. It had quite the run, but then similarly, quite the fall from graces because we hit that monthly 12 EMA on the ratio chart, and now we've got just clear relative weakness back into a name that has been a stinker for ages. So we'll look and see what we get with LTC. I've been comfortably bearish in my stance on all of these weekly 12 EMA tests just because we had no reason to believe that it would break. but I'm starting to open my mind up to a bull break above those, a little bit of change of pace. And part of that reason is because of how LTC USD is trading compared to peers at this point. So what else we got? Let's talk about Sol. Sol could be coming into some opportunity here. We're looking for a weekly high or low. Anything over 110 would be one, and it's been relatively weak. So, we got this ETF stuff coming down the pipeline. Haven't heard hide nor hair about that in a while. But looking for a weekly high or low, and it's kind of one of those things that, if we're like, oh man, Sol's a stinker, it's so weak, this, that, and the other thing, and then an ETF headline comes out and we're back at 170 in a few days, and everyone's like, oh man, I shouldn't have slept on Sol. So I'm personally trying to remind myself not to sleep on Sol, because we know we have a potential fundamental catalyst coming down the pipeline. And Sol BTC, even if you're not worried about that, you're saying, okay, well, Sol BTC's got a weekly EQ. We're coming down to weekly support. If bulls defend support of 2155 on Sol BTC, then we'll see relative strength come back in to play on Sol USD. So keep an eyes on that. What we're going to use as our guide, we'll use 12-hour, 12 EMA, 12-hour downtrend. Bulls are not going anywhere unless 138.13 is broken on Sol USDT. And one more note on this and the ratio chart is we do have bearish ratio divergence on Sol BTC. We're a lot closer to support than we are on Sol USD. So if we're to see Sol BTC break support there, that's a red flag for Sol USD. So we could break that level and still just be riding monthly 12 EMA on Sol BTC. So bears would need to see a good deal of follow through for us to have any confidence in, or not any confidence, but for us to have utmost confidence in the red flag of Sol BTC weakening. Then that monthly 12 EMA would need to be taken out, which would ultimately require seeing 1976.9 taken out. So long ways away for that. But I'm going to go ahead and actually set an alert on this 12-hour lower high on Sol BTC, because that's what bulls want to see break to be the first step of a weekly higher low shaping on up. So those are the only alts I'm really looking at individually. What I'm looking at as a whole is the same thing we talk about basically every movement that we get in the crypto space, looking around for clues. So we've got some weak names like Atom. This is the weekly chart on Atom. It's testing the August flush lows. If we see names start to break those August flush lows, then that increases the odds that others can follow. And then there's obviously varying degrees of distance to those flush lows. If you're closer to it, you're weaker. If you're further, you're stronger. It's pretty simply put that way. So that's the bear side of things. And Atom is definitely one of the first coins that would be breaking it. The bullish side is if we see names start to shape up weekly higher lows, then we'll look for other names to follow. So you got names like XLM looking pretty decent here. It's a big old inverse head and shoulders on the weekly. We're only down 0.33% today when much of the space is pretty steadily down at this point. So that's a stronger name. We've got TAO, another weekly inverse head and shoulders, not even at the 0.5 retrace of the previous move up. So that's a pretty good looking name. And if we start to see these stronger names form weekly higher lows, then that increases the odds that others are going to follow. Let's see, TIA is another weak one. So we're right down at support. But one thing to be watching out for on TIA is, what do we got here? Come on. Potential falling wedge. With how little follow through we saw in that last round of lower lows, gotta be watching out for something like this. So larger time frame context always needed to have more confidence in wedges, and that would just be ultimately a monthly higher low compared to 190 down here. So we're looking for it. Potential bullish pattern shaping up, but right now relative weakness remains. Let's check in on ADA for ER Berg. It's so similar to many other names. Weekly lower high set off the 12 EMA. We're looking for a weekly higher low. Anything over 27.56 would be one. And we've got a fresh 12-hour lower high. I'm going to stick with the 12-hour on most of these names because it's kind of just like haphazard, like I don't even know what you would call it, scraggly action. I'll just call it that. I don't even know what that means, but I think you're picking up what I'm putting down. So 33.98 resistance there. Got to get up and over for anything to change and take a step towards a weekly higher low. If we do that, we'll just use ADA for an example, but many names can be the same. Say we get these daily bounces underway, we get over daily 12 EMA, then we're going to need daily uptrends. Then we say, all right, weekly higher low set. Once weekly higher lows are set, if we get weekly higher lows, we look at our retracement size. Where are the weekly higher lows set from? If you are holding the 0.5 retrace, your odds are favorable to get the weekly trend change. That's a bad drawing. Let me try that again. Your odds are favorable to get the weekly trend change. If we lose the 0.5 retrace, then odds favor more of a tightening range from here. So ADA is a coin that has already lost the 0.5 retrace. So if we get the weekly higher low set, we have to be cautious of the potential for another rejection from weekly 12 EMA and lower high. All right, let's see what we got going on in chat. Yeah, as anticipated, pretty quiet stream. I can just feel it when I look at Bitcoin and I'm like, go figure, nothing's going on. At this point, I know that that's a sign to look out for something to go on. So it's actually almost kind of nice, just kind of let myself do my natural thing and then pay attention to these like psychological or emotional signs that like I will give myself. So I'm trying to pay attention, but gosh dang, it's just boring. It's just boring, so I'm not surprised only 64 people are in here. Dash Star, what up? Flocka Flocka, howdy. Thank you for the call for thumbs up, and happy to be here, just keeping track on the space, because these are the types of things that, like, you know, yeah, it's a little laborious and tedious to keep coming on stream every time and be like, hey, guess what? We're still range bound. Nothing's going on. But everybody who's watching these streams, everybody who's engaging in the Chart Guys room and doing this and that, they're just going to be more ready for opportunity when it comes, whether you have positions already or not. It's part of the game. You got to stalk sometimes. You don't want to be totally burning out your bandwidth, getting crazy, bandwidth or capital, trading in these ranges. But you get out of it what you put into it in this game. So with that, even though like I'm like, oh, great, you got another crypto stream today, I wonder what I'm going to say. Like, I know that that's part of the game, and part of the reasons, or one of the reasons that I can maintain success through different market environments, because I just stay with it. So I am appreciative of everybody hanging out here right now, and hopefully we get some action soon. Let's see, 93 Mischief. Can we look at Mara? Yeah, we can't. Actually, I'm glad you said that, because I wanted to look at the miners today. They're getting smoked on. CLSK specifically getting smoked on some news today. We'll start with Mara. You know, what do you know? Another range-bound name. So we're down near support. This is where bulls are starting to look for positions. I would say we did bounce enough for a weekly higher low to be the most likely scenario. But from a retracement standpoint, it's probably not to the 0.5. Yeah, it's not to the 0.5 from a retracement standpoint, but typically if you get a decently swift move up to that 12 EMA, it is good for a higher low. That being said, we've already retraced more than 50% of this move up, so it's going to be tougher for bulls to confirm a weekly uptrend from here, but it doesn't look good. Oftentimes things don't look good right when they're about to turn around. I'm not calling for that necessarily, but just saying this is the place to be looking. So we got a daily downtrend guide for weekly consolidation. Next time we bounce on the daily, anything below 1845 going to be a lower high. And this is kind of actually a pretty cool setup right now. It stinks that it's a stock, so you have to deal with the overnight trading. But if this was a crypto name, and I'm looking for a weekly higher low, or crypto or futures name, I'd be watching this hourly stair step, because you're like hourly RSI in the teens, getting absolutely crushed. What's it going to take for you to get risk-free? We got 9 minutes left on this candle, so we can kind of map this out from here. If you say that's what the candle's looking like in 9 minutes when it closes, you take that hourly stair step, you go for your one-to-one move. That's like a move to the 15-minute 12 EMA. Then you've got a risk-free position that you can say, all right, maybe that's a weekly higher low. You got to dream a little bit. And typically looking for a weekly higher low based on a 1 hour stair step, the fractal spread is too far to be high probability. But when you take into account the RSI level, you take into account Bitcoin not seeing lower lows get any follow through, take into account that in the scheme of things, the crypto space holding on pretty well, given that the broad market's getting pretty steadily smoked today. And then you say, all right, I have some ammo to dream here. I'm going to take this hourly stair step. I'm going to get risk free. If I stop back out, no harm, no foul, and maybe it can stick for a weekly higher low. Knowing that we're at the lower end of a broader range, and it's essentially just a more targeted range play within the broader range. So lots of room for an hourly lower high. Got to get over hourly 12 EMA to start to shape up a daily bounce. Let's look at CLSK because it's getting smoked. So this is the point against Mara, is that we've got CLSK to new lows and Riot to new lows. So that is a knock against Mara, but that's very clear relative strength. So if you're going to be playing one of these crypto miners, Mara is the one to be buying the dip on. So CLSK. So during all of this, we were talking, it's boring, but volatility is going to come on the break. We certainly got it, and now we've just got a steady weekly downtrend. So we've lost the monthly 12 EMA. We'll call it a quarterly higher low that we're looking for. Tons of room to form one compared to 338. You can drop another 60% and still form one. So just going to let the weekly downtrend be the guide. Lots of room for a daily lower high next bounce, anything below 1144. And Riot, let's see, Riot. Aha. I got to find the clip. I think back in here, I was saying like, in 8 months when Riot gets its 6-month lower high set within this EQ, everyone's going to be like, oh God, how'd that happen? But here we are. 6-month lower high set in EQ. We're going to be looking for a higher low compared to 325. Larger time frame TA can be very helpful to direct your bias on the smaller time frame stuff, because if you're just getting all lost in the weeds with all of this action on the daily, got to zoom out, get some perspective. So we'll work with the weekly downtrend. Lower high resistance is at 855. No 6-month higher low shaping up until that is broken. Lots of room for a daily lower high compared to 802 next bounce, and just getting plastered here today. So same hourly stair step opportunity, but structurally being weaker than Mara, there's not as much ammo to want to crack off at an hourly stair step here on Riot. I don't think. Maybe we're at historical. We're at historical hourly oversold. So that does actually give some pretty good ammo to try for that. We can see what happens when we get down to this yellow band on this historical RSI indicator. All right. Dylan Valentine says, I need your wisdom. Is ICP a monthly megaphone or looking for a monthly higher low? Or neither. He says, let's take a look. Internet Computer Protocol, the most real, non-fake sounding name out there. I wouldn't call it a monthly megaphone. I mean, it's going to be really because, I'm assuming you are looking at something like this. You could, but megaphones typically pop out at you, and they typically don't have like a lot of follow through. That was 154%. So I wouldn't call it a monthly megaphone, and I would probably just focus on a quarterly higher low just to simplify, because somebody could make an argument that was a little monthly higher low, bull flag confirmed, no follow through, so we've lost the monthly uptrend. I don't really want to argue it with anybody, because I'm also fine just saying that's one move down and calling it a monthly higher low. Whether you want to call it monthly, quarterly, doesn't matter. We got double monthly inside bars. We've got a similar structure to everybody else, except our August flush low was not new lows. That held the July low. So just viewing this as a weekly EQ, anything over to 626, going to be a weekly higher low. This needs to break bull to get a monthly bounce underway. And then we have a lot of room for a monthly lower high. So I would just be focusing on the weekly tightening range. Whatever you want to call it on the larger time frames is up to you, but lots of clarity with that weekly right there. What up, Doma Jack? Can you please take a look at RIO on OKX? Let's do it. So this is a weaker coin than Atom. We were pointing out Atom earlier for being one of the first coins to likely break to those new flush lows. RIO has already done it. So just going to stick with the weekly downtrend. We're looking for a quarterly higher low. Monthly is already compromised below the EMA. and tough to have interest in a name showing this relative weakness compared to peers. So bulls aren't going anywhere until they get over 106. Daily is, or this will be another 12-hour downtrender. 12-hour downtrend, no intermediate shift unless we get over 72 cents. And as far as RSI levels, we're oversold, but nothing extreme. Nothing extreme at this point because bears are just walking it down. Let's see, 93 Mischief, wondering more about Mara from a swing trading perspective. Would it be a good spot to DCA? If it would be a good spot to DCA, I think, if you're gonna put a stop on it, below like the base of this balance, because we could absolutely, hold on a second, let me get some larger time frame perspective. Technically our 6-month lower high is set on Mara. So if you're looking to like long-term swing, you would be looking for a 6-month higher low, and that could form at $6 and be healthy. So I wouldn't want to be DCAing much further past the current lows of this consolidation. You can give it a little bit of wiggle room, but really wouldn't be surprising to see this just do that. So I'm always a little wary of DCAing like blindly on anything that's not like the S&P 500. And even that, I mean, we look at SPX, you like DCA blindly at the wrong time, you can have a really bad time. This is what, 62%, 57. I thought one of these was 62. No, I'm thinking of the NASDAQ, right? I don't know what I'm thinking of. I'm just a liar. There it is. The tech bubble was 62%. But anyways, you gotta choose your place, and you gotta be prepared to handle whatever. Like if we're talking SPX, from the mid 60s until the 80s, we were just sideways. This is a 6-month megaphone for 15 years. So DCAing always carries risk. You need to make sure your time horizon's proper and your instrument is something that is reliable, which I don't know. I don't know much about these miners. Don't know much about the miners in terms of like what could derail them fundamentally from like a bureaucratic sense or whatever. Ryan Z knows what's up. Got them Z's. Let's see, Omar. BTC 4-hour looks like a potential inverse head and shoulders. Low chances though. The retracement's too deep for that, in my opinion at this point. I see what you're looking at with like left shoulder, head, right shoulder, but at this point, because of the depth of this pullback, almost all the way to support, I think the more likely scenario would be like an EQ if bulls can't hold that support. So got to be wary of kind of trying to force patterns when we don't really have a lot of clarity. Like it should pop out clear as day, like the Tau weekly. There's zero debate that this is an inverse head and shoulders, very, very firmly. If you kind of gotta like get your whiteboard out and start making your case for how your pattern fits in, then it's probably not offering that much for you. Let's see, Thiago Torres. Hello. DGB BTC. Not sure if it can go any lower for such an OG project. Yeah, we'll see. DGB BTC. Yeah, that's it's working its way down, that's for sure. Monthly 12 EMA resistance. We can just say it is relatively weak compared to Bitcoin. It's on a macro level as long as monthly 12 EMA is resistance. We do have all-time lows, so we know that it can go lower. But right now we're at the lowest level since 2014. So OG project or not, this thing has been a turd since this double top back up here in May 2021. So when I have something that's like super weak compared to peers, I just wait for bulls to prove something personally. It's not worth the bandwidth to try and grab a bottom on something like this when you don't really have like clear macro reason for a bottom to come in. The more aggressive bulls are going to say, all right, if we get over weekly 12 EMA, I'll take a crack at this, looking for like the like what we saw on ZEC, BTC, what we're watching out for on LTC, BTC, getting over weekly 12 EMA would be the first sign of getting that monthly bounce underway. But that's about as aggressive as I'd want to be on something like this personally. Fortune Kasu, 2024 BT summer equals watching paint dry. It does. It does. We are just sideways, my friends. We're just sideways. Opportunity will come back, whether it be to the downside or the upside. I personally, y'all have heard me talk about the market performance after a Fed rate cut, which we have 100% odds of a rate cut on September 18th. Pullback in SPX is like the smallest pullback on a Fed pivot is 27%, and up to like in the 50s. So I'm positioning for that in my personal trading. And that's where my mindset is in my personal trading. So I know Bitcoin's holding on fine here now, but if SPX pulls back 30%, is Bitcoin gonna, prove its value as an inflation hedge and everyone's gonna pile in there and it's just gonna go up while every other asset dumps? Could happen. I don't think it's the most likely scenario. I think if SPX pulls back, Bitcoin's gonna lose these 49K lows. We'll get some 6-month consolidation underway. We'll be looking for a higher low compared to 15,476. But, does that happen from here? Do we get a monthly bull flag that confirms first? I don't know. All I can say is 49K is our key support because that's our monthly 12 EMA, like dip below wick or whatever. If that's lost, then, we're seeing quarterly consolidation follow through and ultimately would be like 6 month. No, it wouldn't be 6 month consolidation getting underway. We either need to wait to 2025 and break 49K or get through 39 or 38K before the end of the year. Duke, cheers. AJ, Sol dying against all pairs. Yeah, I talked about Sol at the beginning of the stream. It's dying against other pairs, but Sol BTC is looking for a weekly higher low. So if that forms, then we can anticipate Sol to come back to life. Appreciate you too, Mr. Dylan. Let's see. Daily status says, sir, it's good long Sol. Oh, he's maybe talking to AJ. Yeah, it's a potential spot for it. Go back to the beginning of the stream. I talk a lot more about it. Yeah, RXR, it's the 6 month lower highs getting set that we talked about probably 6 months ago. It was quite some time ago, but Mara's is officially set. Riots is set with some more follow through, and CLSK, it is not set yet. Will it get set with its peers? Probably, but time will tell. All right, snap. I forgot what time it was. I got a Chart Guys stream in 11 minutes, so I got to get going. Thank y'all for spending some of your afternoon with me, tuning in even when the action's boring. We'll see if these lower lows on Bitcoin 4 hour can preface a weekly higher low shaping on up. It's not a falling wedge. You can't really draw it like that, but the psychology is certainly there. So we'll be watching for that. And that is that. Please hit the like button if you haven't. If you don't like it, you don't gotta hit the like button. And I'm gonna be gone Thursday to Sunday. So Dan the man's gonna be filling in for me on Thursday. I'm taking a vacation. I'm super stoked on an actual vacation because I travel around a good bit, but I always bring my laptop and still just work from the road or wherever I'm at because that's part of the beauty of this gig. But I got all my TCG stuff covered. I'll try to get some swing positions on, see if I can't book a little profit so I'm sitting on the beach. And if not, I don't care. So I will see y'all like maybe a week from today or something like that. Take care, and I will talk to you later.